I stared at the empty glass of water on the bedside table, my throat parched and body aching from the relentless fever. "Kevin," I croaked, trying to summon my son, "could you please get me some water?" The door to my bedroom swung open, and Kevin sauntered in, his face etched with annoyance. "What is it now, Mom? Can't you see I'm busy?" "I'm so thirsty," I pleaded, my voice barely above a whisper. "Just a glass of water, please." Kevin's eyes narrowed as he glared at me. "You're useless, Mom. Can't even fetch a glass of water." He turned on his heel and stormed out, leaving me to wither in my misery. Moments later, Amelia, Kevin's wife, appeared in the doorway, a sneer curling her lip. "Look at you, pathetic and helpless. You'll clean up this mess by the time we get back, won't you, Mother?" She let out a mocking laugh before slamming the door shut, their footsteps fading as they left the house. Tears stung my eyes as I lay there, too weak to move, let alone clean. How had it come to this? My own son and daughter-in-law treating me with such disdain, all while I suffered through this debilitating illness. The hours ticked by, and my fever only worsened. I drifted in and out of consciousness, my mind clouded with delirious thoughts. At one point, I could have sworn I heard the front door open and familiar footsteps approaching. "Helen?" Bill's concerned voice cut through the haze. "Oh my God, what happened?" I forced my eyes open to see my husband's worried face hovering over me. "Bill," I rasped, "I'm so sorry. I couldn't." "Shh, don't try to talk." He gently brushed the sweat-drenched hair from my forehead. "Let me take care of you." As Bill tended to me, I managed to relay the deplorable way Kevin and Amelia had treated me. His expression darkened with each word, and I could see the anger simmering beneath the surface. "That's it," he declared, his voice firm. "We're getting out of here. I won't let them treat you like this anymore." Relief washed over me, knowing that Bill would protect me, that this nightmare would soon be over. For the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. After Bill's initial shock at finding me in such a dire state, he sprung into action. With a tenderness I hadn't experienced from him in years, he carefully helped me out of the sweat-soaked sheets and into a fresh nightgown. "Don't worry, Helen," he murmured, his voice soothing. "I'll take care of you." True to his word, Bill tended to me throughout the night, ensuring I stayed hydrated and comfortable. As the fever finally broke in the early hours of the morning, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. This man, who had been my rock for decades, was still there for me when I needed him most. The sound of the front door slamming jolted us both from our reverie. Heavy footsteps thundered down the hallway, and Kevin burst into the room, his face flushed with anger. "What the hell is going on here?" he demanded, glaring at us. Amelia appeared behind him, her arms crossed defiantly. "Yeah, we come home to find you two acting all cozy. Pathetic." Bill's jaw clenched, and I could see the fury simmering in his eyes. "Your mother was deathly ill, and you left her to suffer alone," he spat, his voice laced with venom. Kevin scoffed, rolling his eyes. "Oh, please, she's always playing the victim card." "That's enough," Bill roared, rising from the chair beside my bed. "I won't stand by and let you treat your mother this way any longer." Amelia sneered, her gaze flickering between us. "And what are you going to do about it, old man?" In that moment, I saw a side of Bill I had never witnessed before. His shoulders squared, and his eyes narrowed with a steely determination. "We're leaving," he declared, his voice unwavering. "And you two are on your own." Kevin's face contorted in disbelief. "You can't be serious. Where the hell are you going to go?" "That's none of your concern," Bill retorted, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Pack your things and get out of our house. You've outstayed your welcome." For a moment, Kevin and Amelia stood there, stunned into silence. Then Kevin's expression twisted into one of pure rage. "You ungrateful bastards," he spat, his words dripping with venom. "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us?" Bill remained unfazed, his resolve unshakable. "You've done nothing but leech off us and make our lives miserable. It's time for you to stand on your own 2 feet. With that, he turned his back on them, his attention focused solely on me. In that moment, I knew that the torment was over, and a new chapter in our lives was about to begin. After Kevin and Amelia's explosive outburst, a tense silence descended upon the house. Bill and I knew we had to act quickly before they regained their composure and attempted to manipulate the situation further. As soon as they stormed out, slamming doors and hurling insults, Bill turned to me with a determined look in his eyes. "We need to get out of here, Helen. Tonight." I nodded, my heart racing at the prospect of finally escaping this living nightmare. "But where will we go?" A faint smile tugged at the corners of Bill's mouth. "Remember that cozy little apartment we saw a few months back? The one downtown, near the park?" Of course I remembered. We had fallen in love with the quaint one-bedroom apartment during one of our rare outings together. At the time, we had dismissed it as a fleeting dream, never imagining we'd have the means or the courage to leave our home. "You think we can get it on such short notice?" I asked, hope flickering within me. Bill's smile broadened. "I'll make a few calls. We've got enough savings to cover the deposit and a few months' rent." And so while Kevin and Amelia were out drowning their sorrows, Bill and I sprang into action. We packed our essentials, clothes, personal belongings, and a few cherished mementos, into our battered suitcases. Bill made the necessary arrangements, securing the apartment and setting up a moving van for the following day. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the room we had called our sanctuary for decades, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. So many memories, both joyous and painful, were etched into the very walls of this house. But the time had come to let go and forge a new path, free from the toxicity that had consumed our lives. The next morning, before Kevin and Amelia had even stirred, we loaded our belongings into the moving van and hailed a taxi. As we pulled away from the curb, I turned to take one last look at the house, a strange sense of finality washing over me. "It's going to be okay, Helen," Bill murmured, giving my hand a gentle squeeze. "We're starting over, just the two of us." A weight lifted from my shoulders, and for the first time in years, I felt truly free. The road ahead was uncertain, but with Bill by my side, I knew we could face whatever challenges awaited us. As the familiar neighborhood faded into the distance, I couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. Kevin and Amelia had pushed us too far, and now they would face the consequences of their actions, alone without our support or shelter. It was a harsh lesson, but one they had brought upon themselves through their cruelty and selfishness. The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow over our new surroundings. I blinked away the sleep from my eyes, taking in the unfamiliar yet cozy apartment. A sense of peace washed over me, a feeling I hadn't experienced in far too long. Bill stirred beside me, his arm draped protectively across my waist. "Morning, sweetheart," he murmured, planting a gentle kiss on my forehead. I smiled, reveling in the simple intimacy of the moment. "Good morning. Can you believe we finally did it?" A boyish grin spread across his face. "I know, after all these years we're free." We savored the quiet tranquility for a few moments longer before reluctantly untangling ourselves from the warm embrace of the sheets. As Bill set about making a pot of fresh coffee, I padded over to the window, peering out at the bustling city below. A sudden knock at the door made us both jump. Bill shot me a quizzical look before crossing the room to answer it. "Delivery for Mr. and Mrs. Thompson," a cheery voice announced. I furrowed my brow, exchanging a puzzled glance with Bill. We hadn't ordered anything. Bill opened the door to reveal a smartly dressed young man holding a crisp envelope. "This was left for you at the front desk." "Thank you," Bill replied, accepting the envelope with a nod. As soon as the door closed, we tore open the seal, our eyes widening as we scanned the contents. It was a letter from Lucas, the realtor who had helped us secure this apartment. "The house has been sold," Bill read aloud, his voice tinged with disbelief. "And for a hefty sum, too." My heart leaped into my throat. The house, the source of so much pain and anguish, was finally out of our lives for good. Bill's expression hardened as he continued reading. "It seems Kevin and Amelia were away for the weekend, and Lucas seized the opportunity to finalize the sale." A wave of relief washed over me, swiftly followed by a pang of guilt. As much as they had mistreated us, Kevin and Amelia were still our family. As if sensing my unease, Bill reached out and squeezed my hand. "We did what we had to do, Helen. This is their wake-up call, a chance to finally stand on their own 2 feet. I nodded, knowing in my heart that he was right. We had given them more chances than they deserved, and now it was time for them to face the consequences of their actions. The rest of the day passed in a blur as we set about unpacking our meager belongings and making the apartment feel like home. With each item we carefully placed, a weight lifted from our shoulders, the ghosts of our past fading into the background. As the sun began to set, casting a warm, golden glow over the cityscape, Bill and I settled onto the small balcony, sipping mugs of steaming coffee. In the distance, we could hear the faint sounds of traffic and bustling city life, a stark contrast to the suffocating silence of our old home. "To new beginnings," Bill said, raising his mug in a toast. I clinked my mug against his, a genuine smile spreading across my face. To new beginnings. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of hope blossoming within me. The road ahead was uncertain, but with Bill by my side and the weight of our past finally lifted, I knew we could face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. Bill and I had just settled in for a quiet evening, relishing the peace and tranquility of our new home, when the shrill ringing of the phone shattered the calm. I tensed, a knot of dread forming in the pit of my stomach. Bill shot me a reassuring glance before answering. "Hello?" His expression quickly hardened as the voice on the other end became audible, Kevin's angry bellows echoing through the receiver. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Kevin raged. "Selling the house behind our backs like that?" Bill remained calm, his voice level. "We left you a note, Kevin. The house is sold, and you need to start taking responsibility for your own lives." "You can't just cut us off like this." Kevin's words were laced with venom. "We're family, damn it." "Family?" Bill's tone took on a sharper edge. "You and Amelia made it abundantly clear that you don't respect or care for your mother and me. This is the consequence of your actions." There was a pause, and I could practically envision Kevin's face contorting with rage. "You ungrateful old bastards! We took care of you." Bill let out a humorless chuckle. "Taking care of us? You did nothing but leech off us and make our lives miserable." The tirade continued, Kevin's insults growing more venomous with each passing second. I flinched with every biting word, the memories of his cruelty still fresh in my mind. Finally, Bill had had enough. "That's it, Kevin. This is the last time we'll be speaking. Don't bother trying to contact us again." Before Kevin could respond, Bill ended the call, his jaw clenched tightly. "Bill?" I began, my voice trembling. He held up a hand, silencing me. "No, Helen. We're done with them. They've made their choices, and now they have to live with the consequences." Tears stung my eyes, but deep down, I knew he was right. We had given Kevin and Amelia more chances than they deserved, and their behavior had only grown more toxic and abusive. The following days were a whirlwind as we settled into our new routine. We explored the neighborhood, discovering quaint cafes and parks tucked away amidst the bustling city streets. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of freedom and possibility. But the respite was short-lived. One afternoon, a frantic pounding on the door startled us from our peaceful reverie. Bill's brow furrowed as he peered through the peephole, his expression darkening. "It's them," he muttered, turning to me with a resigned sigh. Against my better judgment, I urged him to let them in. Perhaps, I reasoned, this would be their chance to make amends, to show some semblance of remorse for their actions. The door swung open, revealing Kevin and Amelia, their faces twisted with fury. "You think you can just abandon us like this?" Kevin spat, shouldering his way past Bill and into the apartment. Amelia followed close behind, her eyes narrowing as she took in our modest surroundings. "This is where you're living now? Pathetic." Bill stood his ground, his voice firm. "We've given you more than enough chances to change your ways. This is the consequence of your actions." "Consequence?" Kevin let out a derisive snort. "You're the ones who turned your backs on family." The argument escalated, their voices rising to a fever pitch as hurtful words and accusations flew back and forth. I shrank back, overwhelmed by the toxic atmosphere that had once again invaded our lives. Finally, Bill had had enough. "That's it," he declared, his voice ringing with finality. "You two need to leave, now." Kevin and Amelia fell silent, their eyes widening in disbelief. "But—" Amelia stammered, her bravado faltering. "No buts," Bill insisted. "You've overstayed your welcome. We're done enabling your behavior." With that, he ushered them out the door, slamming it firmly behind them. The apartment was plunged into silence once more, but this time it was a welcome reprieve. As I looked at Bill, standing tall and resolute, I felt a swell of pride and gratitude. He had protected us, ensuring that we would no longer be held hostage by Kevin and Amelia's toxicity. It was a new beginning, a chance to finally live our lives on our own terms, without the weight of their cruelty dragging us down. In the weeks following Kevin and Amelia's explosive visit, Bill and I settled into a newfound sense of peace and contentment. We savored the simple joys of our cozy apartment, relishing the freedom to live on our own terms without the constant weight of their toxicity bearing down on us. However, our tranquility was short-lived. One sunny afternoon, as I was tending to the small herb garden on our balcony, a sharp knock at the door sent a jolt of apprehension through me. Bill, who had been reading in his favorite armchair, shot me a quizzical look before rising to answer it. The moment he opened the door, Kevin and Amelia barged in, their faces twisted with fury. "What the hell is this?" Kevin spat, waving a crumpled piece of paper in Bill's face. "You're moving again?" Bill remained calm, his expression stoic. "We never intended to stay here long. This apartment was merely a temporary solution." Amelia's eyes narrowed as she surveyed our modest surroundings. "So you're just going to keep running away from us?" "We're not running," Bill stated firmly. "We're simply removing ourselves from a toxic situation." Kevin let out a derisive snort. "Toxic? You're the ones who abandoned your own family." The argument quickly escalated, their voices rising to a fever pitch as hurtful words and accusations flew back and forth. I shrank back, overwhelmed by the familiar sense of dread that had once consumed our lives. But this time, Bill refused to back down. "Enough!" he bellowed, his voice resonating with authority. "You two have made it abundantly clear that you have no respect for us or our wishes. We're done enabling your behavior." Kevin's face contorted with rage, his fists clenching at his sides. "You can't just cut us off like this." "Watch us," Bill retorted, his gaze unwavering. "We're leaving, and you're not coming with us. This is the consequence of your actions." For a moment, Kevin and Amelia stood there, stunned into silence. Then, their expressions twisted into ones of pure contempt. "Fine," Amelia spat, her voice dripping with venom. "See if we care. You'll regret this, old man." With that, they stormed out, slamming the door behind them with such force that the walls trembled. As the echoes of their fury faded, I turned to Bill, my heart pounding in my chest. "Do you think they'll leave us alone now?" He let out a weary sigh, his shoulders sagging slightly. "I don't know, Helen, but we can't keep living our lives in fear of their next outburst." Over the next few days, we made preparations for our move, packing our belongings and arranging for a moving truck. The location of our new home remained a closely guarded secret, known only to us and a trusted friend who would be assisting with the transition. On the day of our departure, we rose before dawn, eager to slip away unnoticed. As we loaded the last of our possessions into the waiting truck, a sense of trepidation gnawed at me. What if Kevin and Amelia caught wind of our plans? What if they tried to stop us, or worse, followed us to our new home? Bill must have sensed my unease, for he reached out and gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. "It'll be all right, Helen. This is our chance to start fresh, free from their toxicity." With a deep breath, I nodded, steeling my resolve. We had come too far to let fear and uncertainty hold us back. As the sun crept over the horizon, bathing the city in a warm, golden glow, we climbed into the truck and pulled away from the curb. I didn't dare look back, afraid that even a glimpse of our old life would shatter the fragile sense of hope that had taken root within me. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years I felt a glimmer of excitement for what the future might hold. We were finally free, masters of our own destiny. And no one, not even Kevin and Amelia, could take that away from us. The first few days in our new temporary home were a welcome respite from the chaos that had plagued our lives. Bill and I relished the tranquility, savoring the simple pleasures of peaceful mornings and quiet evenings without the constant threat of Kevin and Amelia's toxicity looming over us. However, our reprieve was short-lived. One evening, as Bill and I were enjoying a rare moment of relaxation, a thunderous pounding at the door shattered the calm. My heart leaped into my throat, a familiar sense of dread washing over me. "It's them," Bill muttered, his jaw clenching as he rose to answer the door. Sure enough, Kevin and Amelia barged in, their faces contorted with rage. "You thought you could just disappear on us like that?" Kevin spat, his words laced with venom. Amelia sneered, her gaze sweeping over our modest surroundings with disdain. "This is where you're hiding out now?" Pathetic. Bill stood his ground, his voice firm and unwavering. We're not hiding, Kevin. We're simply removing ourselves from a toxic situation, one that you and Amelia have perpetuated for far too long. Kevin let out a derisive snort. Toxic? You're the ones who abandoned your own family. The argument quickly escalated, their voices rising to a fever pitch as hurtful words and accusations flew back and forth. I shrank back, overwhelmed by the familiar sense of dread that had once consumed our lives. But this time, Bill refused to back down. Enough, he bellowed, his voice resonating with authority. You two have made it abundantly clear that you have no respect for us or our wishes. We're done enabling your behavior. For a moment, Kevin and Amelia fell silent, their eyes widening in disbelief. Then their expressions twisted into ones of pure contempt. You think you can just cut us off like this? Amelia sneered. We're your family, damn it. Bill's gaze hardened, his resolve unwavering. Family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated us. You've had more chances than you deserved, and now you're facing the consequences of your actions. Kevin's face contorted with rage, his fists clenching at his sides. You ungrateful old bastards! We took care of you when no one else would. A humorless chuckle escaped Bill's lips. Took care of us? You did nothing but leech off us and make our lives miserable. For a moment, it seemed as though Kevin might lunge at Bill, his body trembling with fury. But then, something in Bill's expression gave him pause. You know what? Bill said, his voice low and steady. This apartment was only temporary. We're moving again, and this time, you won't be able to find us. Kevin and Amelia froze, their faces contorting in disbelief. You're bluffing, Amelia spat, but the uncertainty in her voice was palpable. Bill merely shook his head, his gaze unwavering. I'm done playing games with you two. We're starting over and you're not invited. With those words, he turned and strode towards the bedroom, leaving Kevin and Amelia stunned into silence. I followed, my heart pounding in my chest. Bill, what are you doing? He paused, his expression softening as he took my hands in his. We're leaving, Helen, tonight. I've already made arrangements for us to move to a new place, somewhere they'll never find us. Tears stung my eyes, but they were tears of relief, of gratitude for this man who had fought so fiercely to protect us. Thank you, I whispered, pulling him into a tight embrace. As we gathered our belongings and slipped out into the night, I couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. Kevin and Amelia had pushed us too far, and now they would face the ultimate consequence, being cut off from our lives entirely. It was a harsh lesson, but one they had brought upon themselves through their cruelty and selfishness. And as the city lights faded in the rearview mirror, I knew that we were finally free, masters of our own destiny, with a chance to start anew. The sun had just begun to peek over the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow over the quiet countryside, when we pulled up to our new home, a cozy cottage nestled in a small, tight-knit community far removed from the chaos of the city. As we stepped out of the car, breathing in the crisp, fresh air, a sense of peace washed over me like a gentle wave. This was it, our chance to start anew, to leave behind the toxicity and turmoil that had plagued our lives for far too long. Bill gave my hand a gentle squeeze, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Welcome home, sweetheart. Over the next few days, we settled into our new surroundings, unpacking our meager belongings and making the cottage feel like a true sanctuary. With each item we carefully placed, a weight lifted from our shoulders, the ghosts of our past fading into the background. The quaint town quickly embraced us, its friendly residents welcoming us with open arms. Bill, ever the social butterfly, struck up a rapport with the local woodworking community, finding solace in the familiar rhythm of sawdust and tools. As for me, I rediscovered my passion for caregiving, volunteering at the local clinic and lending a helping hand wherever I could. The simple act of nurturing others filled me with a sense of purpose and fulfillment that had been sorely lacking in my life for far too long. Weeks turned into months, and still, there was no sign of Kevin or Amelia. It seemed they had finally taken the hint, accepting the harsh reality that they were no longer welcome in our lives. Still, we took precautions, changing our phone numbers and informing our mutual acquaintances of our decision to cut ties. It was a difficult step, but a necessary one to ensure our newfound peace and tranquility remained undisturbed. As the seasons changed, and the world around us bloomed with vibrant colors, Bill and I found ourselves truly thriving. We made new friends, attended community events, and embraced every moment of our newfound freedom with open hearts and grateful spirits. One crisp autumn evening, as we sat on the porch sipping mugs of steaming cider, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought us to this point. "Can you believe how far we've come?" I mused, my gaze sweeping over the picturesque landscape that had become our home. Bill chuckled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "I'll admit, there were times when I wasn't sure we'd make it through." I nodded, the memories of those dark days still fresh in my mind. But we did. We persevered, and now look at us. A comfortable silence settled between us, punctuated only by the gentle rustling of leaves in the cool breeze. "You know," Bill said finally, his voice soft and pensive, "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful for what happened with Kevin and Amelia." I turned to him, my brow furrowed in surprise. He reached out, taking my hand in his weathered grip. Their cruelty, as misguided and hurtful as it was, forced us to take a stand. It gave us the courage to break free and live our lives on our own terms. Tears pricked my eyes as the weight of his words sank in. He was right. As painful as our experiences had been, they had ultimately led us to this moment, to a life filled with peace, purpose, and genuine happiness. "Thank you," I whispered, squeezing his hand tightly, "for never giving up on us, on our family." Bill smiled, his eyes shining with a love and devotion that had only grown stronger over the years. "Always, my love, always." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink, I knew that our journey had been worth every struggle, every heartache. We had emerged from the darkness stronger, more resilient, and with a newfound appreciation for the simple joys in life. And as I nestled into Bill's embrace, surrounded by the tranquil beauty of our new home, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. A united front, forged in the fires of adversity, and tempered by an unbreakable bond of love and loyalty.